This is CBN NewsWatch.
Thank you so much for joining us for CBN NewsWatch. It is Wednesday, January 22nd. I'm Ephraim Graham. Ahead today, the impeachment trial of President Donald Trump in the Senate is underway with fierce rhetoric on both sides and a rebuke from the Chief Justice of the U.S. Supreme Court. The coronavirus expanding in China and into other countries. We're going to take a look at what it is and how far it could spread. President Trump again rejecting socialism and predictions of doom, saying America's free market economy can overcome any challenge. And on this anniversary of Roe v. Wade, how one pro-life group is making abortion a major issue in this year's presidential election. We've got those stories and much more ahead in this edition of CBN NewsWatch. We begin this half hour with the Senate's impeachment trial of President Trump heading into day 2 after adopting Majority Leader Mitch McConnell's rules for proceedings on Tuesday and rejecting multiple Democratic demands. McConnell's rules say new witnesses and documents will be considered only later in the trial. But McConnell did make one important change, allowing for 3 days of opening statements. The arguments between the parties got fierce, ultimately leading Supreme Court Chief Justice John Roberts, who is presiding over the trial, to chastise both sides.
But President Trump does not want you to hear from Ambassador Bolton. And the reason has nothing to do with executive privilege or this other nonsense.
The only one who should be embarrassed, Mr. Nadler, is you.
I think it is appropriate at this point for me to admonish both the House managers and the President's counsel in equal terms to remember that they are addressing the world's greatest deliberative body.
The session lasted until about 1:30 a.m. and will resume this afternoon. CBN News is providing special coverage of the impeachment trial. We are carrying the Senate impeachment trial of President Donald Trump live every day on the CBN News Channel. Want to turn now to the coronavirus outbreak. There are now 440 confirmed cases in China, and the disease has killed at least 9 people. Workers have been disinfecting the streets of the city of Wuhan in China, which officials believe is ground zero for the outbreak, and the disease is spreading.
2 in Thailand, 1 in Japan, and 1 in the Republic of Korea.
Chinese health authorities are urging people in Wuhan to avoid crowds of public gatherings. People in that city went out to buy masks to protect themselves, with some saying they gave up plans to travel for the Chinese New Year. The illness comes from a newly identified type of coronavirus. That's a family of viruses that cause everything from the common cold to more serious illnesses, like the SARS outbreak that spread from China to more than a dozen countries in 2002 and 2003. That killed about 800 people. Our CBN News health reporter Lori Johnson is here with more on this. So, Lori, Chinese health authorities have determined that the virus can spread from person to person. So could it spread around the world? And of course, those of us here in the United States wondering, can it come here?
Well, it actually is here. Yesterday, the CDC confirmed the first case in America in the Seattle area. A man who had recently been in China flew back into the Seattle area. He was fine when he first got here, but then started having symptoms on Sunday and went to the doctor and very wisely mentioned that he had been to China and they tested him. He tested positively. Now he's quarantined, and the CDC is investigating all the people who he may have come into contact with since he arrived back in the United States.
Wow. So exactly what are the symptoms of this virus?
Well, this virus is similar to any other upper respiratory virus, so the same symptoms that you would have if you had the cold or the flu. So cough, fever, runny nose, sore throat.
So what should people do if they're feeling these symptoms?
Well, obviously, this is cold and flu season, so a lot of people are going to have those symptoms. Go to the doctor as you would for any other cold or virus if it gets very bad. But the main red flag, this is very important, is have you been to China or have you been in contact with someone who has been to China?
So what are health officials doing to curtail the spread of the virus?
Well, the CDC has dispatched hundreds of employees to 5 U.S. airports, our 5 major U.S. airports, and they're actually screening people who are arriving in from China and for things like flu and asking them questions about their symptoms.
All right, Lori Johnson, health reporter, thank you so much for the update. Of course, we'll be keeping an eye on this.
Sure.
Want to turn now things back to politics. In an abrupt about-face, Hillary Clinton said Tuesday night she would endorse Bernie Sanders if he wins the Democratic nomination. That came after a political firestorm after Clinton said in an interview in an upcoming documentary that nobody likes Sanders, nobody wants to work with him. He's got nothing done. Her comments once again reopened the wound between her and Sanders, her chief rival for the 2016 Democratic nomination. Clinton tweeted Tuesday night the top priority was retiring President Trump, and she would do whatever she can to support the nominee. Speaking at the Davos World Economic Forum Tuesday, President Trump attacked what he called prophets of doom on issues like climate change and other predictions of a crisis in the past, saying they had been repeatedly wrong.
They predicted an overpopulation crisis in the 1960s, mass starvation in the 70s, and an end of oil in the 1990s. These alarmists always demand the same thing: absolute power to dominate, transform, and control every aspect of our lives. We will never let radical socialists destroy our economy, wreck our country, or eradicate our liberty. America will always be the proud, strong, and unyielding bastion of.
The president added, America understands a growing and vibrant market economy unleashes the creativity to overcome any challenge. Coming up, today in 1973, the U.S. Supreme Court handed down its famous Roe v. Wade decision, which made abortion legal across the country and a key issue in politics ever since. Now we're going to hear from a pro-life group about how they plan to spend millions of dollars in this year's election on behalf of President Trump. We're going to have that interview when we come back.
Life is better with a good night's sleep. Get your free DVD or booklet of Protect Your Sleep today.
I'm Ephraim Graham, and this is Studio 5. Cruise with me as I discover the good things happening in the world of music, sports, television, and movies.
The fact that Ryan Coogler was going to be directing the film, I knew that something special was going to happen.
We'll chat with artists at the forefront of entertainment and explore the connection between popular culture and faith.
I asked my pastor, I said, well, does that mean I'm supposed to be a preacher? He says, well, no, you already have a pulpit.
Watch Studio 5 Wednesday night at 9:30.
Remember for a moment what it was like to be a child. You believed every story you were told. You saw a world full of endless possibilities. What stories will the world's orphaned and at-risk children believe? We believe the Bible tells the only story truly worth believing. We believe that every child should have the opportunity to dream, the chance to take challenges and turn them into possibilities, the chance to stand on the promises of God, to recognize their place in the greatest story ever told. They have their whole lives ahead of them. Theirs is a world of endless possibilities. They are looking for a story to believe. We will tell them that story. Will you join us?
It has the power to influence weight loss, boost your immune system, and improve brain function.
We've seen an explosion of data on the role of the gut microbiome in health.
The free Build a Better Gut booklet reveals the latest information about the gut microbiome. You'll discover how your gut affects the rest of your health.
The gut microbiome has been linked to depression and cancer and heart disease.
Learn how to build a stronger, healthier gut.
The microbiome, if it's in good composition, are really protecting us all the time from more invasive things.
Get the Build a Better Gut booklet free from the Christian Broadcasting Network. Call 1-800-700-7000 or go to cbn.com/buildabettergut.
You need to make sure that your microbes are working with you, not against you.
And if you order online, you'll get immediate access to the Build a Better Gut series, a digital copy of the booklet, and related bonus material. Build a Better Gut today. Call 1-800-700-7000 or go to cbn.com/buildabettergut for your free copy.
Get the top political news and analysis from Washington on Faith Nation, tonight at 6 Eastern, only on the CBN News Channel.
Welcome back. Today marks the 47th anniversary of the Roe v. Wade Supreme Court decision, which legalized abortion in America, and it's been a major political issue ever since. Now, a major pro-life group has unveiled a $52 million campaign in battleground states to re-elect President Donald Trump and an anti-abortion Senate majority in 2020. CBN's George Thomas spoke with the Vice President of Communications for the Susan B. Anthony list, Mallory Quigley, to learn more.
So, Mallory, why are you guys ready to make such a huge investment in the 2020 election?
Well, it's simple, really. President Trump is the most pro-life president that we've ever had as a country, and we've made enormous gains under this Trump-Pence administration, and we want to see that continue for another 4 years. So our plan is to make sure that Donald Trump has another 4 years in the White House, and he has a pro-life Senate to confirm his judicial nominees and generally support him in what he's laid out to do.
What states are you targeting, and what kind of voters are you hoping to convince?
Absolutely, yes. So we, Susan B. Anthony List and our Super PAC, Women Speak Out PAC, we are looking at battleground states such as North Carolina, Iowa, Florida, Georgia, Arizona, and we want to talk to not only pro-life base voters who need to be reminded that they just can't afford to stay home this election, but also traditional Democrat voters, including Hispanics, independents, moderate Republicans, people that might want to vote for a pro-abortion candidate because of their support for other issues, be that healthcare, immigration, and we need to remind them what's at stake in this election. I mean, over the last several years, unfortunately, the Democratic Party leadership has gotten increasingly more and more pro-abortion. They've removed, the phrase safe, legal, and rare from the Democratic Party platform, and they've espoused, a position that is support for abortion on demand up until the moment of birth, paid for by you and I, the taxpayers, and that's what unfortunately, sadly, that the party stands for. So we get out on the ground, we have face-to-face conversations with voters in these important battleground states, and we remind them what the policy positions are between both of the candidates. And it's really just about educating them. Once people know about these pro-abortion positions, we find that they are much more likely to want to support pro-life candidates, including the president.
Now, Planned Parenthood is spending about $45 million to support pro-abortion candidates. It's the biggest. It's the biggest in campaign history for them. Why do you think they are so motivated?
Yes, well, Planned Parenthood is the nation's largest abortion business. We saw a report out from them just a week or so ago outlining, their annual report outlining what they do, and abortion is up at Planned Parenthood. Meanwhile, everything else that they claim to do, women's healthcare services such as, cancer screening, contraception, all of that is down. And they saw what has happened under the Trump administration. They lost $60 million through the Title X program, basically because they wouldn't separate their abortion activity from their family planning. And the president drew a hard line in the sand. He said abortion isn't what Title X was supposed to be about. So they've lost federal funding under this president, and they are making an investment in their financial future to try and elect pro-abortion extremist politicians and slow down the pro-life momentum at the state level.
A lot of states are passing, as you know, pro-life laws. Why is the battle in the states so important right now?
Yes, well, Roe versus Wade, we're going to mark the anniversary of that Supreme Court decision next week here in Washington, and since that time, it was a profoundly undemocratic ruling that prevented states and state legislatures from enacting laws that are reflective of the wills of the people in those states. Americans are pro-life, and increasingly so, and they want to see common sense pro-life measures enacted, in particularly at the state level. And so there's been this unrest in the hearts and minds of the American people that's played out at the state level in state legislatures with, these leaders passing very strong pieces of pro-life policy. And so that's where we think that this ought to be decided. A majority of Americans believe that abortion policy ought to be decided by legislators, state legislators, not the judicial branch. And so I think that there's just this growing pro-life momentum because our laws haven't been permitted to really reflect the will of the people.
Yeah, real quickly on that subject, how close is the pro-life movement to seeing Roe overturned?
Well, there is just dozens of different pieces of litigation that are happening right now. The court is going to have to address this issue. We'll see what they say in March with the Louisiana admitting privileges case. It could be very soon, but court watchers, pro-life people, we're all watching that case to see how the court rules on the issue of standing, whether or not abortion businesses can continue as they have done to sue pro-life state legislatures. So hopefully very soon, and certainly if we reelect President Trump and he's able to impact the court even further, that the day could be very soon.
Last 30 seconds here, you touched on some of these extreme abortion laws supported by the Democrats. Give us some examples of those laws.
Yeah, well, look at the beginning of last year in New York. We had Governor Cuomo lighting up the One World Trade Center pink to celebrate an extreme pro-abortion bill that basically takes away any limits on abortion at any time during pregnancy performed by non-doctors. That's certainly not safe for women. And then in Virginia, we had Governor Northam say, if a child survives a failed abortion, which is very likely when these extreme late-term abortions are happening, that the child should be left to die. So we're really talking about very extreme pro-infanticide bills that they're trying to push in other blue states across the country, including Illinois, California. It presents a stark contrast with pro-life Americans' views.
Still ahead, a new movie out this weekend tells the true story of a Vietnam hero, a medic who saved dozens of lives before sacrificing his own. The movie is called The Last Full Measure. It looks at the cover-up surrounding the unsung hero, and we're going to tell you all about it when we come back.
Hey, if you're tired and exhausted all day, you can't think clearly, and you really just need a cup or even a pot of coffee to get through your day, then join me, Dr. Josh Axe, for this new series where I'm going to teach you how to transform your diet and use essential oils and supplements to get a better night's sleep.
Wake up to your best life. Call 1-800-700-7000 to get your free DVD or booklet of Protect Your Sleep today.
It's about the competition.
I kind of put that pressure on myself, and I think people had expectations.
It's about overcoming.
We use this phrase all the time, keep chopping, keep practicing hard.
It's about going the distance.
I think as a father, it's my job, to lead, just be the best husband and father I can be.
Watch Going the Distance with Sean Brown Saturday night at 7:30 on the CBN News Channel.
Orphans Promise is committed to loving and serving at-risk children, to helping keep families together, and to creating opportunities for strong and sustainable communities around the world. We're working in over 60 countries around the world, and with your help, we can do even more. There's an old African proverb I love that says, if you want to run fast, run alone. But if you want to run far, run together. At Orphans Promise, we want to run far so we can touch the lives of as many orphaned and vulnerable children as possible. But we don't want to go alone. We're out to change the world, one child, one family, one community at a time. Will you join us?
It is a true story of a Vietnam hero, a medic who saves more than 60 lives before making the ultimate sacrifice in one of the bloodiest battles of the war. More than 30 years later, a Pentagon staffer investigates a Congressional Medal of Honor request for this unsung hero. He then uncovers a high-level conspiracy and puts his own career on the line. We head to the film's premiere for this Studio 5 first look at The Last Full Measure.
Operation Abilene was one of the bloodiest battles of the Vietnam War.
Everybody down! An entire company nearly wiped out.
We are taking fire!
Prayed for a miracle.
One came. His name is Pitts. Pitts saved lives.
It's the ultimate story of valor and sacrifice, and it's really about service greater than self. And the story of William Pitsenbarger is one of the great untold stories of the Vietnam War.
We put him up for the Medal of Honor.
This was 30 years ago. I mean, is there an agenda you have I should know about?
Justice delayed is justice denied.
He gave his life in 1966, and here we are today in 2020, and we're still talking about him.
The Medal of Honor is the highest recognition of military valor there is. You'll prepare a full decorations review.
Mr. Pitsenbarger, sir.
I'm from the Department of Defense.
I'm here to learn about your son.
As a combat veteran myself, it got right to my heart. It's a story that really involves the brotherhood of arms.
If you want the real story, you'll need to talk to the mud soldiers.
The dedication that we have to this nation and to each other, that's the heart of the story.
Yeah. Pitsenbarger comes down that wire and saves men he never even knew.
That really goes to the heart of who we are as veterans.
Sounds like a suicide mission.
Suicide is hopeless. What Pitsenbarger did was valor.
I think when a story like this comes along, it really pulls on all of us to say, you know, that human beings can be incredible things. We can do incredible things.
He was there to save lives, and that's what he was doing.
I think in these divisive times, a picture like this is especially important and will be welcome.
Why are you here?
Because you're here.
Ellie shouldn't even have been there. None of us should.
What are you saying?
That's friendly fire. We were fighting our own men.
It's about Vietnam, and it's about greed and corruption. It's a good film for us right now on the planet.
Getting that medal for Pitts, for the men I lost, might be the only decent thing I pull out of that war.
It speaks to the best in humanity.
Pitsenbarger's father, he's dying.
Dying isn't harder than losing a child.
Any man who gives up his life for another man has fulfilled that last full measure on the path of life.
Give praise as this young man and show us that the sacrifices of the fallen will never be forgotten.
The Last Full Measure is in American theaters this weekend. We're previewing it again for you on tonight's Studio 5. We're also sitting down with actor Dennis Haysbert, and we're counting down to Oscar night, talking with the newly nominated star of Harriet, Cynthia Erivo. That is all on Studio 5. It's tonight at 9:30, only on the CBN News Channel. Coming up, we are going to look at an important subject for individuals and the country, the benefits of marriage. Stay with us.
If you want to be an attorney with a passion for serving people and for excellence, Regent University needs to be high on your list.
Regent's award-winning law school doesn't just create lawyers. We create leaders, judges, prosecutors and defense lawyers, civil litigators, and leaders in government. Ready to become a purpose-driven, practice-ready lawyer? To start your rewarding career, complete the online application, submit your transcripts, and take the law school admissions test by July.
Nutrition, exercise, essential oils, weight loss, and more. It's Healthy Living with Lori Johnson.
Talk about what's in this.
Join CBN health reporter Lori Johnson to get the latest information from today's top health experts.
This is fantastic.
Find out what you need to know to live a healthier life. Watch Healthy Living Tuesday night at 9:30.
Woohoo! Hi, Superbook fans. Here's something else you'll love. Whoa! It's the new Superbook Bible app. It's packed with games, activities, and Superbook episodes that you can watch for free. Oh no! There's trivia, a fun daily devotional, and answers to your Bible questions. Plus, an easy-to-understand Bible the whole family will enjoy. You can even create your own Superbook character. Ta-da! Whoa!
No super falls, man. Come.
Sorry, pardon me. Sorry, excuse me. Ouch!
Are you getting this?
Earn super points to win daily prizes too, and so much more. Time to get back to my adventures. See you soon. It's the new Superbook Bible app. Free downloads on iTunes, Google Play, and Amazon.
Check out the CBN News Daily Rundown podcast each weekday with me, Caitlin Burke. Click on the show tab at cbnnews.com where you can listen and subscribe.
Although marriage remains ideal for many people, experts say we need to celebrate marriage because it is in trouble. And as Paul Strand reports, that's sad because the institution has so many benefits for your life and your health.
Is marriage a dying institution in America? Back in 1970, 78% of adults were married. That's more than 3 out of 4. Then began the spiral downward. Now it's just 48%, less than half. And that comes at a cost.
The number of never married Americans has grown almost 5-fold since 1970.
From his Maryland home, Michael McManus heads up Marriage Savers.
The number of people getting married has dropped like a rock.
He says that's too bad because staying single could be seen as harmful to your health.
Married couples will live 2 to 10 years longer than those who are single. That's a big difference.
The American Stroke Association shows that married men are 2/3 less likely to have a stroke than their single counterparts. Married cancer patients can see a more positive recovery from cancer surgery.
They're 2/3 less likely to have a heart attack following that cancer operation. Married couples are less likely to develop mental problems like depression.
They even sleep better. Wives up their chances of getting a good night's sleep by 10%.
Married couples are less likely to engage in risky behavior like driving fast or drinking to excess.
That could be because they feel a responsibility to stay alive and well for their spouse and children. McManus says you can help keep your partnership alive by doing things like finding an older couple who can mentor you. Back in the 90s, his church did just that with almost 300 couples.
90% are still together today. My wife and I have mentored 61 couples over time, and we only know of one divorce among them.
We've long known that marriage has benefits for society and certainly for children, but now you know it has benefits for you. Much better for your health, and you'll live longer too. Paul Strand, CBN News, reporting from Potomac, Maryland.
Time now for your Wednesday word, and today's word is love. Remember this, love is more than just a word, and it is more than just a feeling. Love is a choice, a decision we must make at every turn. In all that you do today, choose to do it with love. That is going to do it for this edition of CBN NewsWatch. Remember, you can find more of our CBN News programs on the CBN News Channel at any time. You can also find them online at cbnnews.com. Also, we'd love to know what you think about the stories you've seen here today. You can email us and let us know. The address is newswatch@cbn.com. And of course, you can always reach out and touch us on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram. We certainly hope you'll join us again right here next time. Make it a wonderful Wednesday. We'll see you here tomorrow.